Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today we have discussion on parkour in video games. And if you were a supervillain, what three items would the heroes use to take you down? Today we've got
Ooh.
our co-host beside me, Brody Shaw.
What's up?
And followed by Ben and Josh,
Feeling cool.
and then Jovi, and then Mike and Rare.
Ooh.
So I guess the main segue into this is Brody and Mike both made some content discussing this matter in general quite recently. Brody made a whole video on it on his Ravioli Spills YouTube, as well as Mike did a full article on the subject as well. So I want to start off with speaking to you guys on your main points here so that we can kind of segue into the topic a little better.
For sure. So the whole thing about it is through media, especially video games, parkour has kind of become like a loose term just for movement in video games. And it's almost become sort of a joke of sorts. So we're all parkour athletes. We've all trained parkour for the past like 10-ish years. And it's something we've all dedicated our lives to. Like, there's a lot of training involved. There's a lot of practicing. There's a lot of community building and a lot of know-how. And all I ever see is parkour this, parkour that when it comes to video games. I was watching a video on Monster Hunter, a game where you hunt monsters with giant weapons. And the guy said, yeah, so you just got to parkour across this gap. And then he proceeded to use his like grappling hook skill to get across a gap. And I was like, yo, what? That's not, That's not parkour. What the hell?
No.
And I even see it in like my nephew. He plays Fortnite all the time. We were playing today actually, and he saw a hill, and he's like, man, I wish I could parkour up that hill. And my sister was like, yo, it's called climbing. And I was like, yes, thank you. Oh my god.
Or like
So,
hiking,
like,
depending on the incline.
Yeah, so the main thing that I've been noticing a lot lately is there are games that legitimately have parkour mechanics in them. Like Mirror's Edge is a great example. It is legitimately parkour inspired. But there's so many games that come out that use parkour as like a buzzword. So our entire sport has just become a buzzword to sell people on movement mechanics in video games. So it's like
wait. So you're telling me Minecraft parkour isn't really parkour?
No, it's not. It's jumping.
And I think that was one of the biggest. I think that was one of the biggest like realizations when I was doing the blog post, and Brody and I ended up trying to look at what was the most associated term with parkour on the internet, and number one hit was Minecraft.
Yeah.
Like, that was eye-opening to like what type of audiences and how parkour in popular media was being used, and just there really isn't much of a movement mechanic within Minecraft. So like what is it? Where did that come from? How did the term go from this specific kind of movement style of getting from one area to another with I guess like that's another thing I go into in the blog post is that there has to be some intent behind the movement.
Yeah.
And like it's easy to say, hey, you go from one point to another and that's just parkour, but I feel like that doesn't really do enough to really bring the whole term home, really.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough, yeah.
A big thing I've noticed
more than like the pure parkour point A to point B. Like there's so many different branches now that it's no longer even that. Like it's like there's like creative aspects and everything now.
Parkour at its root is so misunderstood.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
like as much as parkour is movement, yes, I always compare it to skateboarding. So people see skateboarding and people know that there's a culture behind it. Like a lot of skateboarders are fucking balls to the wall crazy. They're tough as hell. And there's that kind of like don't give a fuck attitude with it. Like that's kind of what it is to be a skateboarder. But nobody realizes that parkour has a whole culture to it as well. People see parkour and like, oh yeah, I know parkour. It's that thing you do in Minecraft, right? It's like, No, it's
or
not.
directly you talk to somebody about parkour and they're instantly like, oh, like that thing, like that scene from The Office. It's like we're not.
Oh, fuck off.
That's the worst one.
I
That's
hate
gotta be like
that.
the most painful.
I hate
Sad.
that.
It's sad.
I think I have a conflicting opinion here. I mean, I also dislike the scene from The Office. I mean, it was funny, but I
It
was
was
so
funny.
sick of that
It
being
was
Great
funny.
episode.
the go-to.
It was
right?
funny as fuck.
But
But that's
I don't give a shit about the name using the word parkour in video games, because it's just like when people say, "Oh, you got to engineer your way through this thing." You're not dropping down doing some freaking like integrated math and like
yeah.
third level derivatives to figure out. You're just building
What if you
something. Like
did?
you use it as a general term, right? And I think parkour as a movement other than just like traditional movement, like being able to get up and over things, is a parkour term. And I think, I don't know, I think people put too much value on the fact that it's not parkour because parkour is this and this and that. Oh yeah, fuck it, I don't care.
Well,
I think the only thing is
Yeah,
that parkour is less established than engineering. Like it's like much less understood at a deep level.
I think
Yeah,
for
like,
us,
you know you're
because
doing
of
anything
where we
wrong.
are in like the community and what we've grown up learning through parkour and experiencing through parkour and having parkour as a major point in our life, hearing that people are doing parkour in Minecraft by just bouncing from one block to another in a high spot. I mean, like, to us, that's kind of
Okay.
like an understatement to us.
Okay. Counter argument. We were those people too.
Loving this.
We definitely built a whole parkour map.
Yeah,
And we all took part of it.
True.
So.
absolutely.
It's true.
Absolutely.
Right with
We're-
the call out.
Of course. I think the biggest thing is that like if video games are using parkour as a marketing ploy for their video game, I'd like them to at least take into account terminology of it rather than like we have parkour in this game and all it is that you can like jump and move up a wall. If we could have some aspects like in Titanfall where you're running on walls, you're running up things, you're doing big jumps and stuff like that, or even Mirror's Edge. I'd love to see some more games with some Mirror's Edge type movement mechanics advertised as parkour. With the sport becoming so much more popular in the world and just in media in general, you can see people who are parkour athletes just going crazy on TikTok and Instagram Reels and stuff with their just general content of what we used to fuck around like for years, and it's blowing up now. So it'd be really cool to see people kind of dive into our community and what that sport is actually like, more than just using it as a blanket term.
Mhm.
That's
See,
super
I
true.
don't. Yeah, you go ahead, Ben.
I was just gonna say, like, parkour has always been one of those sports that like just goes up and down. There's
Mhm.
waves where the media like really picks it up, and that becomes the new thing. Like when that Bond movie came out, everyone went crazy for parkour, and that was like a huge influx for the sport. And
Yeah.
then it dies off, and they're like, oh, parkour is one of those 2004 things. And I think the same thing is happening now with TikTok. Like you get all these parkour athletes, and yeah, it's great for the sport, but it's ultimately gonna fall into that same like generalization. Like they're gonna remember parkour from TikTok. Like I don't know if you guys saw Bob Reese's video where he just like did a huge swing.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
in the gym, and he just went
perfect,
like
let's do it.
smack right into the yeah, exactly.
Or his
And so
like
you
screaming
tag
sprint into the room and then
Yeah.
screaming sprint into the pit.
absolutely. And you know what? I love that. I love
Yeah.
it. Like it's so
It
funny.
was hilarious. That's what we do
Um,
all the time. Like that's just always
Yeah,
been
it's so
our
fun.
general like fuck around stuff we do.
Mhm.
Totally.
But the
And
thing is, he's not explicitly saying this is parkour. He's
Mhm.
just
Totally.
fucking around, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's where my biggest issue with it comes is I don't care if you label your game as a parkour game if there's parkour mechanics in it. But when there isn't parkour mechanics and you're calling it parkour, it just confuses people, right? Like, let's say EA or whatever was like, yo, we're making a brand new skateboarding game, and it was just downhill races. You'd be like, well,
Like a
I want to
scooter.
skateboard.
that's
I want to
downhill.
do grinds and I want to do kickflips. I don't want to race down a hill. That's not
Mm.
necessarily
That's my favorite
skateboarding.
game.
I actually
So-
like one of my favorite Tony Hawk games is called Downhill Jam, and like it was a racing game like that.
But you didn't go into it being like, yo, I want like Skate 4 out of this, right?
Right,
You were a
yeah,
kid,
I
you
know
played
what
it,
it
and you're like,
was,
this is
too.
cool, I'm racing on a skateboard.
Yeah,
the intent is
it's
to
like-
jam downhill.
If
Yeah.
I see a game that's labeled as a parkour game, I'm like, oh, cool. What kind of parkour mechanics do they have in it? And it's jumping from block to block. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I wanted like something like Mirror's Edge or something. You know, I
Isn't
feel like
that
there
a lot
could
of
be a
what we do
different
too?
term for it. It is,
Don't we jump from block to block? Like,
yes, but there's a lot of intent behind it, and technique, and precision, and timing, and planning, and preparation.
Yo,
Right?
imagine
how do you
imagine a
put that into
parkour game.
Same with
Imagine a parkour
skateboarding.
game like Skate though, like where you like
Yeah,
you run
They
up
made
to a
one. It was
spot.
terrible.
Yeah. But
Well, that's
I mean,
the
like
worst one,
a little
right?
bit more like refined, where you like flick your stick in a certain way and you do a specific trick while you're
Yeah.
running through the street.
Flying dragon.
Dude, blue like the
You guys
color.
remember the memes we used to make about that
Yeah.
game?
Also,
So
yo, like,
Stoner
blue like the
Parkour
color
Pro,
and
that could
Stoner are both
potentially-
developing ideas like that,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Which that's the direction I want to see things go. Like, I want parkour to become an actual term for like what's going on in a game, and not just like a blanket term that encompasses being able to climb up a wall fast or being able to do like one specific little aspect of parkour. Yeah, parkour is a lot of just jumping, but that's not all parkour is, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's like making a skateboarding game, but the only thing you can do is ollies.
Well, the thing. Okay, so here's the
Okay.
thing: a person who doesn't do parkour can jump, and it's not considered parkour; it's just considered jumping. But then
Yeah.
when a person who does parkour does that jump, that is then considered parkour. So that's like a weird like label
Okay,
difference.
I have a continuation on something with that. I think the idea of parkour is really hard to translate into a game
Mm-hmm.
because of what it is. It's constantly about pushing your limits and testing what you can do and
Totally.
doing things.
Yeah.
In a game where it's much harder to translate into a game because you can't be like, oh, I can't make this jump yet. I have to go practice. Well, what do you practice? Like what do you? How does that transfer over? How do you like face the fear elements and whatnot? I just don't think parkour translates very well as the main concept of a game. So this is why it doesn't bother me so much when I see it in games calling it like parkour mechanics when they're using it for something else, because I think parkour in itself does not make for a very fun video game. Like Mirror's Edge, like what made it fun was that there was like time trials, and there was like it was more about finding a route through, and or like there was a story behind it and there was things going on, right? It wasn't just a free roam map.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really important aspect for
True. But I think
a
you can
parkour game.
add an
It-
objective to it similarly to how they have in skate games. You can say like, do a line that includes a reverse and a gainer or something like that. Or you can have like go from point A to point B and you must do this trick here and this trick here. Like you can still have those objective based systems.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I think that like not having a narrative though is like the main issue. Like that's the thing that really pulls people into a video game. Like yeah, a game can be really fun to play, but if you don't have like an overarching goal or narrative, it's really hard to keep that engagement. Like for example, like Skate 2, if I had just got into Skate 2 and played with the mechanics, like yeah, I would have had a great time for like 2 hours and then I would have gotten bored of it.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
it's that like narrative driven, goal centered approach that makes the game entertaining. And I think if you were to do a parkour game, that's kind of what you need. Like the narrative doesn't have to be special, it doesn't have to be.
I think the intent of the game can be different, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who do enjoy skate just for its free roam stuff. Like people still play it to this day, right?
for sure, yeah.
I think if the mechanics of a game are well enough enjoyed, then you can, I don't know, you can just keep coming back to it. I don't think it necessarily requires some form of external objective. I think there's a lot of people who enjoy it without that objective system.
I can definitely see that. I just think at least for me personally, like having a narrative at least gets me engaged enough to like give the game a chance
Oh.
and get used to those mechanics and like use them in a way that feels productive, if that makes sense. Or,
Yeah.
like a way I
Is it
wouldn't think
possible that
about.
there could be like an introduction system that could hook people in the same way?
I could imagine
I
there
think
would
you
be.
would need one, because I think
Yeah.
the only way a parkour game is going to be fun is it needs to be like hella complicated. You need to be like able to control yourself to like an extreme degree. Well, the more control you have over a character, the harder it is to learn and pick up. So you're going to need some kind of narrative to teach you how the game works and keep you interested long enough until you get a hang of it. And once you have a hang of it, then a more open world system near the end works. It's like Monster Hunter has a really good one. Like the storyline keeps you around long enough because you have a reason to do things. But once you finish the storyline, you keep playing because the game itself, like the aspects of the game, is just really, really fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
Right?
need a
Really-
hook. You need a hook. That's what I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. You know, I also am kind of thinking too that like if Store and Blue Lake the Color come out with these video games, and then there's examples of real parkour in video games, it'll be harder for people to mislabel it because people will be like,
Totally.
no, there are actually parkour games. Like that's
Yeah.
not like this
Exactly.
game. You know what I
Store
mean?
has a colossal audience, like beyond the size that any of us could comprehend.
It's
They're
true,
what? They're
it's
at what?
crazy.
Like
They're like
6.7
7
million
million,
subscribers.
Dude,
Yeah,
fucking
7 million
messed it up.
subscribers. Like there are not that many people that do parkour in the world. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's our community times
Yeah.
so fucking much. Like it's crazy.
Isn't it
They're
amazing that
sitting
the
at
biggest scene is
7.
like pure too? Like they have genuine intentions. They're the people to advocate for
Yeah,
this. They really
totally.
are. They have the most
Absolutely.
attention. Like I would definitely expect a meme to have the most attention. Like it always has for all of history with parkour. But now Store is like reframing that shit. I love that. They're the
I would
Yeah,
not
guys.
it's
trust
great.
any other team or any other person to represent the sport in the way that Store has done. Honestly.
No,
Dude, they
exactly.
inspired- I love them. I love them.
I remember like growing up in parkour, doing parkour, and looking to them as people I looked up to aspire to be, and I'm sure a lot of us did. And to see them still going strong, 11 years later, and so much stronger than they have ever been is really awesome. And the fact that they're going through and kind of dedicating themselves so much to this sport in their clothing, any of the content they create in the movie industry now, with them having been in a few different films now, having
Including
very
one
s-
directed by Michael Bay.
yeah,
Yeah, and also
Mm.
just actually directing some of the shots themselves. They were given a lot of creative license in a lot of those films.
Yeah, because
and how
they-
to shoot parkour because they're told, hey, we don't really know exactly how we should be filming this. Like, can you guys take the lead on this? And then, Sasha and Toby all of a sudden are telling like seasoned veterans in the film industry what to
how
do.
to get shots.
Exactly.
And that's the cool thing is because in the film industry you have your stuntman and you've got your stunt coordinator, but with them, when they're hired on to a production, they are being hired on for their section as their own stunt coordinators, for themselves as well as the stunties. And so they're able to kind of tell the directors and the camera operators kind of the best places to be, the best way to get their shots, and do all of that. So like just all of this amazing representation of parkour in media and in the world, from this video game to films to TV shows to YouTube content, is all going to do nothing but good for the reputation and the
Mhm.
knowledge of parkour to the general public.
Totally.
I guess that was another thing as far as, it gets the word out there and like you have to wonder about the phrase. It's like there's no such thing as like bad press.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and I remember Rez talking about that with the way that, the International Gymnast Federation is kind of appropriating parkour behind their banner. And he was just like, yeah, I'm not really worried about it because like at the end of the day, we're doing the authentic parkour
Totally.
experience, and we're going to differentiate ourselves completely from what they're doing because we know what we're doing. We have all this experience. We're going to be able to show how we're top caliber, and if anything, it's going to bring more people into the fold and more dollars into gyms, of which like I'm totally for.
Yeah,
But
so-
I think it just comes down to that sense of essentialism where it feels a little bit dirty when it's like, okay, hey, this company or this organization just kind of puts a flag down and is just like, yeah, this is our shit. This is our
Like the
right
U.S. on the moon. How
Yeah.
dare they?
now. I mean,
So you can
Like-
like a good example of this is skateboarding. Like you can watch Olympic skateboarding, or you can still watch a street comp and see what the culture is really like. You get to see all the
Totally.
B-roll, them popping beers and shit like that, and fucking just
Mhm.
all the fun shit they do at a skate comp. Like the two can still exist.
Yeah.
yeah, and I
Well,
would say
and
the same as with like competitive climbing too. It's like
Yeah.
the scene is so different from the comp scene, and the mentality behind it is also very different.
Mhm.
Guys, I just had the best idea.
What's
What
this?
is it, Ben?
Let's do let's do to gymnastics what they've done to parkour. Let's take gymnastics and make
Turn it into a
street
meme.
gymnastics.
Street gymnastics.
Dude, when I
Okay, so
did
you got to do a
gymnastics,
round
I
off,
always
triple
wanted
fold,
to do
land
street
straight legs.
Yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
I feel like Alex Shower did something.
He kind of
Yeah.
did
about
actually.
this,
Yeah.
like-
Wait,
So there was
yeah,
an,
it was him. Yeah,
yeah, there was an athlete, Alex Shower, and he did a video where he basically mocked gymnastics, I guess, and did parkour gymnastics through the streets with all the. He did all like the ending poses where you're not supposed to pick your wedgie and all that stuff, right?
And Joel Eggman was his
Yeah, it's
coach.
good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good
I
stuff.
mean,
That is a good
with
idea.
with that note though, it's like Mike was saying, there's no such thing as bad press. The good thing about all of this happening is that we have now these major corporations creating these big games advertising parkour. So
Mhm.
now, at least with that, you have the term more familiarized and
Totally.
you have the movement of it a little bit more familiarized. So as go ahead.
That introduces people to parkour gyms like that. Like,
Mhm.
think of, okay, so all of us have worked at a parkour gym for at least some period of time.
Yes.
And think about all the people who have come to the gym because they saw it in Assassin's Creed. Now,
Yeah,
they
totally.
didn't exactly know what parkour was, but they had an idea and they showed up at the gym and they wanted to do something similar to that and grow there. And like, that's introduced a lot of people to parkour gyms.
Totally.
Exactly.
And we've even had kids come to classes, and afterwards, I see them playing Minecraft in the parkour gym, and they're jumping around and doing parkour as they play Minecraft. So even though in Minecraft you're just jumping from a block to a block, and it's not the full encompassing experience of parkour, it's still bringing little kids and people into the actual sport, which is cool.
Oh, straight
That's
up,
a good
dude. And like to draw another parallel with skateboarding, like I don't know if you guys remember Tony Hawk's American Wasteland.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
How could I forget?
That game was like the epitome of parkour for me. Like it's totally fantasized in that game. You can like gainer onto a rooftop from ground level. It's like totally insane.
And build your own skate park.
Yeah, and it's you know like it's totally fantasized, but I mean in the same vein, got me interested, and then I took it
Yeah.
up, and from
Ooh.
there on it's history.
Yo,
So
Josh, just
I
got
love how you learn.
another idea on
Uh,
that. With store parkour, imagine that you have the ability to now build your own gym. So like similar to like a Tony Hawk, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and build up this tower, and I'm gonna try to do this like really sick like running gainer pre to like punch Rudy off of it. Like, oh yeah, that'd be so sick. And then just
That'd be
like,
a good way
build
to
up
teach
all of
people
your stuff.
progressions. You could insert like a little bit of parkour philosophy in it. Like, you know, like the coach character in Skate 3, he pops up like, you gotta do the nollie the other way around. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And you could have, you know, like Chris Brooks or someone pop up and,
Oh my
and go
fucking
like,
god!
if you want to hit this big ass vision, you're gonna have to make it a lot bigger. I can show you the world.
No,
It's
Chris
like-
Brooks needs to be that character. Like Chris Brooks is a story classic, and if they have a guest character like that,
Oh my
it should be
God.
Chris
I
Brooks.
still like
if it was
the
Chris
idea, like,
Brooks, all you would see was his nuts, and they'd have to censor that out all the time.
No, they would. It's a video
Oh
game.
my
Cartoon
God.
nuts.
see on the Modus like podcast when they had Toby on, they were discussing like, oh yeah, what about like putting little Easter eggs into the game? And then like it came up where it's like Giles was talking about, hey, if I was a playable character, it's just like, you know, you could just have a room where like you could just, you know, close the door and just beat the shit out of me, like, and then that's just my thing.
I think
Like,
that'd
imagine
be
that
really
cameo.
cool.
Funny.
Send Giles on a sketchy roof mission. I don't know about this, guys.
I'm so excited
Little
to see
cheeky,
these
innit?
characters. That's
And then
so
you
cool.
just see Chris Brooks off in the distance. I'll shag your missus, I swear on me mom.
Is that a direct quote? Or
That
did
is
you
a
make that up?
direct quote
Yeah.
from the end of a video. He's on a
shag your
rooftop
Yeah.
screaming at
Swear
this
me, Mom.
random couple on the street.
I swear on me, mom.
I feel like watching Store is also kind of where we really fell into our own rowdiness as a team.
Yeah,
They encouraged
definitely.
me to be rowdy. They inspired me to be rowdy. Straight
Absolutely.
up. I was like,
They
I
inspire
want
me
to
to
be
be
crazy
rowdy
like
every
that.
day.
I'm shy right now, but I want to do fuck shit like that.
Yeah.
Cause a ruckus.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Totally.
Because like they show you that like causing a ruckus does not stop you from like succeeding at what you do and like being genuine people. Like you can still be like genuine, honest, nice people and still like cause a fucking ruckus like this guy's.
Yes, I love that combo, dude.
It's like
that's
Eric
how I
Andre,
love
dude. Like he's been famous off fucking with people for years.
Yeah,
Idol.
which is incredible.
Absolute
He's
idol.
smart as fuck.
Well, and like
Actual genius.
to that token, it's also inspired us. That's what inspired me to pick up Lost Boys is
Mhm.
going to those places that you're not necessarily supposed to and shooting something that you love and creating something that you love regardless of the confines that society is like given out. That's what inspired me, Colin, and Ben to go to Europe and to sleep on the streets and play on the rooftops and eventually end up in Chernobyl and do stuff there. We wouldn't have done that without Storer's influence. I know that for a fact. That's the only
Yeah.
reason why I planned that trip.
Dude, I totally agree with that. I was thinking about how Lost Boys and those rooftop adventures and sleeping in the streets kind of shit is so like that idea would not have crossed my mind without Storer. But like that shit is what I live for these days.
Totally.
Like you know what I mean?
Right.
Like that. Like they definitely inspired like the most pure adventures that
Right.
I've had. Like,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'd love to be able to get PODI to a point where we have the money to spend to be able to go on trips and like travel fees and stuff, and we all just show up at a city with our sleeping stuff and that's it. We got to figure out where to go,
love
find
that.
a place to stay, look for places to explore in any given city.
Yeah,
that could be-
experience.
It's
and
those are the real Lost Boys.
Exactly.
yeah.
It's a
Right?
blast.
yeah, like genuine Lost Boys. Like we get.
We
those
are lost.
Literally,
fucking-
like
We are literally lost.
we drop ourselves in the middle of Toronto, and it's like, cool. Figure out where you're gonna
Where-
stay.
where
to?
Figure out where you're
Not
gonna
even
stay.
like,
Yeah,
hey, you
yeah,
don't even know which
yeah,
plane you're getting
something
on. Like you
yeah.
just kind of like Russian roulette a plane
Ooh.
ticket, and then
Ooh,
you
like
go,
after
and then
the
you
hit?
have to figure it out. Like all of a sudden you're like in Uzbekistan, and you're like, I don't know anything.
Really cool
What am I
idea.
supposed to do?
Toronto, bro,
Really
we
lost,
can't say-
guys.
We can't say local. We can't say domestic. We gotta go to some crazy place. We gotta.
That just,
Yeah,
this
right?
just gives me a really cool idea. If it ever happens in the future, we get one of our viewers to randomly pick a place,
Yeah.
and we get someone to help them manage us the tickets,
Bad
so that
idea.
like we can give them the money to book us the tickets, and we don't know
Oh,
where we're
no.
We don't know where we're going until the day our flight is. We know a time and an airport,
Oh,
and we don't know
fuck.
where we're going until we get to the airport and we get our tickets.
Looks
That
like
would-
we're
what-
going
What if it's
to
like-
Afghanistan.
I was about to say, I'm like, go to an
miss.
active war zone.
That's
I
why
would
you.
love
Oh yeah,
to
you
work
can't leave
for
it in the
someone
hands of a
in
commentator.
Small ass town somewhere, or like some boring city. Like I feel like that's a risk. Like, what if it's not safe?
we would have one extra person to like screen it first with them.
Yeah, because
Okay.
because
Like,
it's not like
one time they just decide to fuck with us.
yeah. Because here's the thing: we wouldn't
I
be
mean, I feel like even that would be fun.
yeah we wouldn't be necessarily like you book it. Here's our money. Book us flights. That's stupid. We would have
Yeah.
somebody. We would have somebody mediating to be like, it is not okay for them to travel there.
yeah.
Like I don't know, like I don't know. We can't go to Greece because Jovi crashed a quad there, and we just shouldn't show face there.
I can go to Greece, bro. I'll
No,
visit.
Joey just can't have
I've
quads.
I've,
Oh my
I've
God.
revisited that crash site. I went to Santorini with my family. I showed them where I crashed. They did not like seeing that because there was like a cliff right there. It was
Oh,
like
no.
it was like near death shit, but like
I definitely found
Holy.
myself very insensitive in that situation because I knew how funny of a memory it would be in the future. Every time I'd ride past him while he's dealing with the people, I'd go like, ah.
yeah, I was like fucking like crying and shit. Like, dude, they were holding me hostage because I couldn't get money. Like
Oh my
I
god.
didn't have enough money to fix the quad. And my parents couldn't wire me money because they couldn't go to banks because I called them when it was 3 a.m. in Canada. So these guys were like, we're going to have to sell your iPhone. Like, we're not leaving our site. You're staying with us. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I hated my life that day. But Josh, I would see Josh and he'd be like, haha. I'm like, what's up? He's like, oh, I'm hanging with Pasha. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like miserable. And he's like, he's like, don't worry, bro. It'll be a funny story one day. And like, part of me was like, you're right. And part of me was like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Fair enough.
Oh my god.
So-
Imagine that. It's just like this is Jovi's in on like human trafficking. This is,
Oh no.
this is how it happened.
Like, they were like, we're
I'm
gonna
like
sell your
riding by.
belongings and like you're our hostage until you have money. And I was like, cool. Cool.
like,
Sounds
you were-
dope,
I
bro.
just
What,
grabbed by,
six-
like,
were
yo,
you
I'm
s-
off to a good time.
Because
I
like
just
how,
turned 18. I just
yeah,
turned
you
18.
just like you were just
I was a young boy,
legal.
bro. A young posse in Santorini.
Yeah, you got
You're the
safe
young
there.
boy.
So we already know one of Jovi's, but we're gonna move on to our next topic. If you were a super villain, what would the heroes use to destroy you? What 3 items? I'm assuming Jovi's is a quad, but
I was
we'll
gonna
kind
say,
of.
I already know mine. Like, are you saying my weakness is quads?
It very
so.
well
Yeah,
might
Quads
be.
in general.
But I think because this was Josh's topic to bring up, I think we might as well just start with you, Josh. What 3 things would the heroes use to take you down?
And pass it
So-
on after.
Yeah, pass
For
it on.
sure. I've got I've got some like weird like phobias. For example, like I despise rubber bands. Like I just cannot be around them. I can't look at them. I don't want them near me. Like if I'm eating and I can see them, I'm like ah. Like it just Ben, put that shit away. So,
Damn,
So-
that shit's
so
so,
that-
handy.
like if I see one, I throw it out instantly. I'm like,
Okay, but
"Ew."
like, where does that come from? Because like there has to be something. Like what happened in your childhood that like
Seriously.
I
rubber
don't know
bands
if
did
I
you so
understand
Josh
bad?
hates rubbers.
psychology enough. Like I just
Oh, that makes
I
sense.
think it could be tied to some like memory that I haven't yet accessed, and when I access it, one day the memory will just like float away. You know, the fear will just float. Like if I access that memory, the fear will float away. So, rubber bands would be my first one.
Was-
The second one, coins, like coins of any size and shape. So you,
I think I know this one.
Yeah.
again, like same with the rubber bands, like. I just have this like weird phobia of coins. Like I don't like to touch them. Like I always like I touch them and I smell my hands after. I'm like, it stinks. Like, I'm just,
Why do
like,
you smell your hands after?
I don't know. I just don't want to smell my hands.
Yo, because they smell.
I don't like having bad smelling hands. That's
Just
what I get
scratch
from
and
rubber
sniff.
bands. That's what I get from coins.
That's fair.
Um,
I feel that.
So you could use the rubber bands and the coins. And then my final weakness, onions. You could take me down with onions because like if you like gave me a pizza, I'd be like, yo, pizza, and I'd like take a bite into it. I'm like, onions. Like it's just like, someone to eat this. I don't want this. So,
Almost
I
killed
imagine
Jay
you
with
could-
onions.
That's true.
Really? Jay, I thought you loved onions.
I love onions, but what happened was I had just gotten my laser eye surgery, so my eyes
yeah.
were super sensitive, and all of a sudden my eyes start getting sensitive. So I thought and I had already taken my pain medication and put my eye drops in. So I was like, fuck, I'm just gonna go upstairs and talk with Ben and Nikki to like pass the time, to like try and distract myself from the pain in my eyes. And I go upstairs,
Bad
and
choice.
all of a sudden it starts getting really bad. And then I don't know, I still don't know why. I have no idea why. And then I run downstairs. I've got like cold water compressed on my eyes. I'm like washing them crazy. And I realize, oh, Ben and Nikki were cooking onions. And just the onions cooking and the smell of them from being cut was just like destroying my eyes. I was like wreathing in pain. Ben had to go get distilled water in like a 4-liter jug and like douse it over my eyes. It was insane. Otherwise,
Yeah,
I love them.
Otherwise-
So yeah, that's how you would kill me. You would probably like, I don't know, probably give me a pizza with onions in it because that would ruin the pizza for me. So already I'd be feeling vulnerable. Then you could use the rubber bands and coins in a combination. Like you could like lay like rubber band traps and they'll get like stuck to my leg, or you could use the rubber bands to shoot coins into my mouth, and that would be my ultimate hell. So that's how you would
onion flavored coins directly
3
into
things
the
to make
nose
hell
and
for
into
you.
the mouth.
Mm.
Or
Josh-
do you one better? Slingshot an onion that's embedded with a bunch of coins.
Ah!
Oh,
What kind of supervillain are you, Josh? I'm curious. Like why is somebody trying to defeat you with onions, coins, and rubber bands?
I'm making everyone dance,
It's footloose, man.
and
You're-
it's got to
yeah,
stop. You
I
know,
was just
people
gonna
got to
say,
do
you
shit.
gotta-
Gotta
evil
stop.
version
Like
of
it's
Patrick Swayze.
forcible dance.
What's your
Kevin
villain name?
My villain name is the the honest
Kevin Bacon from
dancer.
Footloose?
well, who are you passing this off to?
I'll pass it off to you, Jay. I think you've got some
All right.
ideas.
Kind of, sorta. I thought about this briefly a little bit. I was walking down at the river with Ben, and I was like, you know what? What would take me down? I don't think I'd be like a very like crazy supervillain, but I would still cause some ruckus. And I think there's a step that you need to take. I'm not the kind of supervillain that you just need to take 3 things and just beat me to shit with them. I mean, you could. I'm pretty weak against swords. But
Aren't we all?
yeah, or bullets. But realistically, I think first you'd have to sedate me. And so we were joking at the fact of a room full of people blowing bong tokes at me so that I get stoned and sedated so that I'm not as hyper and I'm not moving around as fast. And then the
You
next...
could be lured into that room too.
Exactly. Just lured into a hot box. And I'm just like, yo, guys, who's got the chips? And then after that, once I'm sedated and not moving around, I'm still paying attention at this point. So you need to distract me. So to distract me, it's got to be anime, and more specifically, anime titties.
I knew what it was gonna be. Oh my god.
So
Yo,
now
I
that
got these
I'm...
authentic anime titties. Hi, Jay. You want to touch them?
Whoa, bro, these feel real, dude.
Dude, I got this special mouse pad. Here you are.
Jay's like, oh, they're so squishy.
So,
oh, mouse pad. Do you consent?
So now that I'm sedated and distracted, really you either need to you have a choice at this point. This is when your adventure becomes a choose your own adventure. You can either befriend the supervillain or destroy him. And to befriend me, you just need to join me in my sedation and distraction. Or to destroy me, you just have to rip some very smelly farts or chew with your mouth open right in my ear. I will self-implode. I will literally just like turn into a black hole and disappear.
So I have a special friend who we all know.
Like, what if your friends are chewing loud?
His whole family chews with their mouth open, and I went over for dinners with them on numerous occasions, and it was just like, ah!
It sounds like a nightmare.
I dated a girl for 2 years ish, and I thought it was just her that did it, and it wasn't really a problem. I could just like quietly be like, "Sorry, do you mind like, chewing with your mouth closed? It's kind of like freaking me out or whatever." But I eventually went for a family dinner, and it was her mom, her dad, her brother, and her grandma were all doing it so loud, and there's just me sitting there like,
It's hereditary.
yeah.
Grandma's the worst too.
It's in the blood.
Yeah, so I think that would be your step to kill me or befriend me on your own choose your adventure of Jay the villain.
I like Jay's basically Sauron here with the One Ring, tempting everybody. Just join me in anime titties and weed. Like, give in to the dark side. Like,
And in the end, everyone joins him, and he actually wins.
Yes,
Everyone's just
join the
fucking sad.
D-Gen.
Cast it into the fire.
This party is sponsored by Doritos.
Yo, actually, the new chip to have instead of Doritos Sweet Chili Heat when you're stoned, spicy dill pickle chips by Miss Vicky's.
Yes.
Bro,
Holy shit.
they are
shit.
so good. Dill pickle chips were so good, but they were missing something. So you add the spice to them. Oh, mwah.
Woo. Chef's kiss.
I'm really liking
so
Takis
good.
these days. Or Doritos Dynamite.
Ooh, baby.
Dynamita, like, dude, Nikki and I had so many bags of those that my tongue went like raw. Like,
They
Dude,
punish
you,
you, though. Like, you get punished the next day.
It's true.
oh, for sure, it's painful. Like, you eat like 5 and you're like crying, but you can't stop. It's just like, I want another one,
The whole bag. It doesn't matter how many are in front of me. Like, if I eat one, I have to eat the whole bag.
dude. It's because
Yeah.
you can't taste anything else after you've
Yeah.
had Doritos Dynamita. Like, literally, if you have like 5 of those and you try and eat anything else, it just tastes like a Dorito.
True. I'm gonna pass this off to Jovi because of my initial thing on quads. Jovi,
Very nice.
what
Alright, lads,
what
I don't
defeats
think
you?
quads are my weakness, to be honest. I did not have my license when I was driving yet, so I think it's more about I didn't know how to drive. Then I got my license and I crashed a van, but it's because my grandma called me. My grandma called me and I went to pick it up and I hit a parked car in a narrow neighborhood. The thing about that is my grandma sadly passed away now, so it's good that I tried to talk to her while I could. So what So
What a
fuck
twist.
it.
Good
And then
guy,
thing
Joey.
number
Twist.
two-
Attaboy.
thing number two.
Imagine
is that
like
I
explaining
was
that.
gonna be a lot cruder about that, but I was like, my parents don't watch this, and I definitely don't want to be disrespectful
Just
like that.
imagine
But I
explaining
do
that to
like
the
to
person
make
that you
jokes about
went and
things to
hit.
deal with my humor or to deal with my emotions. I like to make jokes about stuff to deal with my emotions. Anyway, I do think I'm a good driver. I've just made bad choices. Okay, so these are what I think our real weaknesses are. First of all, if I'm a villain, I'm probably an asshole. I'm probably my worst self. And I think if I'm my worst self, I'm letting my insecurity get the best of me. So I think number one thing that villain Jovi's weaknesses is confidence. Because if you're confident, I'm insecure. and if I'm insecure, I project things and I become a villain. I become a bad guy. I'm trying to be the best guy I can be.
Jovi got really
So-
introspective with this question, and I love it.
Number one weakness as a villain is confidence.
Okay.
Number two weakness, monogamous relationships. All right.
Jovi, I brought a girlfriend home for you.
Do you want to get married?
I crumble in a monogamous relationship. I used to think it was because I had a bad breakup and I was just trying to avoid going through pain again. But over time, I've actually realized I consider myself polyamorous these days, and I think that I actually am open to a serious relationship, but in a polyamorous setting. So if you come to me with some monogamy, it is my weakness, and I'll probably get depressed in that sort of situation. And my weakness is also number three, depression. All right, lads. Those are my biggest weaknesses. Okay, if I'm happy, I wake up, I stretch, I work out, I make healthy breakfast for myself, and I am productive as fuck. If I am sad, I wake up, I masturbate, I go back to bed, I eat shitty food, I do no stretching or working out, and I watch so much TV. So yeah, those are my three weaknesses, and I'm gonna pass this one right off to Brody because I like his smile right now.
Oh, dude.
I want to hear how you would be defeated by all of this put together. Like, what's the scenario?
What's the scenario?
All right, let me culminate this. I date a girl monogamously. I get depressed as fuck. What was my third weakness?
Insecurity.
Confidence.
Insecurity. While
Yeah.
I'm depressed, I'm also so susceptible to being insecure about who I am as a person because I'm not performing very well while I'm depressed. So literally, the cycle is date a monogamous girl, get depressed, get insecure, defeated as fuck, eventually get so sad that I have to turn my life around and I become awesome like I feel right now.
They could
So
just
I'm
blow on you and you would become
I'm
dust
the
after
winner.
all those weaknesses.
Or you don't necessarily get destroyed or killed. They make you turn your life around and you redeem yourself.
Exactly.
nice arc.
They do kill
How
the
to def-
villain. They kill the villain in me, and
Yeah.
they bring out the hero, lads. All
I,
right.
I
see.
feel like
Yeah,
that's
that'd
a
I
story
see.
that I want to watch. Like,
Yeah.
Bro, that
watch the
story
villain
is
get
what
destroyed
happened to me in
because
this
the
life.
villain
That's
is no
crazy.
longer there. The villain is now a regular person, or
We've turned the
yeah.
villain into a nice guy instead of killing him.
The
That's
villain
Wow.
is
Isn't
inside of
that
it.
just
I was
like the
a
plot of Star
depressed-
Wars?
Yo, literally though, like this is the
Yes,
story
yeah.
of my life. I was in a monogamous relationship. I got depressed. I got very insecure, and I was mean to a lot of people because of that insecurity. And then I trashed my life in Calgary, came to Vancouver, became zero to hero. Literally, that is the story of my life. You watched.
Oh
it.
yeah.
Did you kill the younglings?
I would never kill anyone. I don't have courage to fight when I was mugged and when I've been in
That's the
altercation.
reason why.
I'm afraid to throw a punch.
The only reason
I
Jovi
feel like
doesn't
if I
kill
throw a punch,
children is
the
because he
people
doesn't
that I
have the
punch
confidence.
will punch me harder, including children. If I punch a kid, I know that kid is gonna beat me up harder than I beat him up because I'm not a good fighter yet. I'm trying to get into fighting.
I love
That
it. Oh
is
my
amazing.
Beautiful.
Well, Brody, hit
Well,
it.
Lads, I pass this off to my best. Josh is my number one best friend, but this is one of my best friends, Brody Shaw.
thank you for the wonderful introduction. So, okay, let me tell you something. So Heinz, you know the company that makes ketchup, mustard,
And beans.
mayo. They make beans.
They do.
They came out with a line of condiments. There's mayo chup, which is mayo ketchup. There's mayo Q, which was mayo barbecue sauce. There was mayo must, which was mayo and mustard. And then there was cranch, ketchup ranch.
I knew this was gonna
And
be one of them too.
The name
Yeah.
is just such a departure from the rest of them, and it hits hard. It's got that nice crisp cranch on it. Now, for the past probably year, all I've ever wanted was just a bottle of cranch. So the first thing to defeat me as a supervillain is a bottle of cranch. Okay? Here's the thing. I find that bottle of cranch. I'm super happy. But the problem is, it's a trophy. Okay? I don't want to taste the cranch. I want to keep this cranch on my shelf. So the second thing you need is another bottle of cranch. So that way I'm able to try this cranch. So you're going to lure me somewhere quiet with this second bottle of cranch, leave some french fries or some stuff for me to test dipping it with so I can try this cranch. And while I'm busy distracted, you get the third item to defeat me once and for all. This third item is a gun.
So wait, hold on. So you're telling me someone lures you like Hansel and Gretel style with like McDonald's French fries to like a dark alleyway where you find a lone bottle of cranch, which you pick up and start snacking on, and then just
Only if I have the first bottle of cranch.
They need to
Right.
reward him with cranch first. They say, Brody,
Because
here's some
There needs to be a
cranch.
cranch
We are,
trophy and cranch accessible.
yeah.
Because if I have the first bottle of cranch, it just goes on my shelf. I go home, goes on my shelf. But if I see a second bottle of cranch, I'm going to stay there and try that cranch. And while I'm distracted, just boom, back of the head, done.
I really thought one of yours was gonna be weed. Like,
Weed? No, dude, I'm going to start smoking weed when I turn 100, and I'm going to live till like I'm 130.
I can't wait for that. I
It's gonna
can't
be
wait to
hard.
be like 95 and like smoke weed with you.
Dude, the moment
quite
we're
the
all
time.
being 100 years old and smoking weed with Brody is going to be a highlight of my life because we're all going to live to be
Yeah.
100 and smoke weed with Brody.
It's going to be amazing. We have
Brody's
to
gonna
now.
be the first
If I
person to
have
die
to.
from weed.
Honestly, even if we all smoke weed when I turn 100 and we all die after that, I think we're good.
Yeah, I
That's
think
it.
that's
That's
that.
game.
Mission accomplished.
That's
It's actually a suicide pact.
that's
All
my
right.
three things to defeat me.
So we
Well,
are
that's
smoking
funny.
this weed that I put a bunch of Drano on. Yeah, let's get going.
Drano.
We got Zuther to go ahead and meet in the afterlane.
So for Brody, it's not a game of duck, duck, goose. It's a game of cranch, cranch, gun to defeat.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Perfect. And that's really all it
Brody.
is.
What kind of supervillain are you?
What kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
supervillain am I? Well, you see, I feel like if my deep-seated anger that nobody ever sees that I had as a child was to surface and I had no morals, I'd be a pretty ruthless supervillain. I'd probably just be killing people left and right, stealing things, punching babies, that kind of thing. It'd be a
Wow.
complete alter ego of what I am now.
Damn.
And yeah,
Hit
it'd get
home.
pretty dark, guys.
Oppo bro.
That's probably why we would require the cranch gun.
I'm always gonna love cranch, and I'm always
Yeah.
gonna be weak to guns. I'm a human.
Yeah.
Brody, have you tried the Hanch yet? Just out
I
of
have not,
curiosity.
dude. Same issue. I only have one bottle of Hanch. It is on my shelf. It's a trophy. It's not a snack.
That's
It's
fair.
both.
Yeah, unfortunately.
man
so I'll
collects
have to get another
condiments.
bottle. I do.
Okay.
If it's Hanch and Cranch, like you can't go wrong with that. Anyways, I'm gonna pass it off
Hanch,
to Rare
Cranch,
because you
condiments.
mentioned something about. Did you say weed was one of your weaknesses?
It was one of yours. I thought
Oh,
that
one of
was
mine.
yours. I was like trying to guess everyone's, and I thought one of Jay's was going to be anime titties, which I was right about.
Boom.
I thought one of yours was going to be cranch, and weed was going to be another one of them, but I missed that one. I don't want to spoil Ben on Mike's in case I'm right.
Yeah.
Jovi, I was way off. I don't even remember what they were, honestly. Actually, I think I did guess relationships, but I wasn't solid enough in the answer to like say it straight.
Hmm.
And then Josh, I think I said yours was gonna be Brussels sprouts for some reason, but I
I
don't
like
really have
Brussels
any
sprouts.
reason for it. Yeah, see, like it was a little off base. Yeah, so I was trying to guess everyone's. So me, if I'm a supervillain, I did it for good reasons. I'm the ultimate bad guy, here to make the human race ally against me, solve world peace by making me the reason why that everyone's going wrong. I'm causing chaos everywhere, stealing left shoes.
So specific.
Yeah.
Damn, you are
Terrible.
evil.
Yeah, tearing zippers ever so slightly that you only get a couple more uses out of them. Flipping batteries and remotes, like proper evil.
Mm.
That's like
And
yeah.
Awful evil.
You're like the bad version of Santa Claus.
No, chaotic evil.
so to defeat me, I'm gonna have a massive ice castle on the like South Pole. And you gotta like get into it, but I'm like immune to like all weaponry known to man. But when you like, I'm picturing it's like a Dark Souls fight. So you're coming in with like all your weapons, armor, and gear. You're ready to go. You're like trying to fight. And I keep just kicking the shit out of you. Like it's fantastic. You keep coming back to try, and then you realize there's like a couple rocks in the boss fight arena, and you're like, why is there rocks here? Everything else is made of ice. So you pick them up and like, you're just saying, screw you, and like throw them at me, and I die instantly. So it's 3 little rocks in my boss fight arena kill me.
Nice.
You're immune
Your
to
only
every
weakness
weapon
is
known
like
to man.
playground gravel.
Yeah, it's playground gravel, basically.
Rare had a bad time with grounders as a kid.
Uh,
The floor's lava was fucking real on the playgrounds.
Yeah.
yeah, I picked rocks out of my knees one too many times. I was like, this is it. If it happens again, it's over.
Ah, fuck my weakness, rocks.
3 of them.
Yeah.
I just, if I was picturing it, like I was saying, like I picture like a Dark Souls style fight, big dramatic music. I'm like sitting in a chair ready for you guys, like playing with a yo-yo while I'm hanging out, and then like you come in and I stand up, and I just like full sprint into you and like put my foot right in your face, and you slam into the door. And the next time you try, you like dodge it, and then I turn around and like grab you by like the hair and slam you into a pillar. And like each time you're like, God damn, this fight's so hard. Like, why is this taking so long to beat him? Like, he's just a dude playing with a yo-yo. And then you pick up some gravel and throw it at me, and it's over.
You're at your wit's end and you're on the last string of your life, and you just grab the rock beside you and chuck it at him, and his health bar goes down by a whole third.
I thought of a feature. I thought of a feature of the boss arena. So here's like another evil of the universe. Like as soon as you walk through the doorway to the boss arena, you forget what you're doing. Like, ah, fuck, why'd I go here?
And then
It's a
Rare
rare
pops out.
Oh shit! Just get bladed. Just get domed.
So Rare, do you also have like an aversion to pocket sand?
Yes, but it's only like a small stun effect. It's kind of a
Yeah, pocket gravel would be more effective, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
Imagine
it's
getting
gotta be
gravel in your eye.
Yeah,
that
it
would
doesn't
hurt.
even have to get in my eye though.
Who,
could
who
get
are
up
you
your
passing?
nose.
And I'm like,
Who are you
oh,
passing
shit,
this
it's
on to,
over.
Rare?
Well, we only got 2 left.
We have Mike
Um,
and Benjamin.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, Benjamin happens to be sitting center of my screen, so we're gonna pass it to him.
Cool. All right. I've thought long and hard about this, and I've come to the conclusion that like the only acceptable sort of weaknesses have to be actual weaknesses of mine. So like the first one has got to be dairy. Like anything dairy related, it's just gonna fuck me up, dude. Like if you can get me to eat cheese or like yogurt or like milk, I'm done for. Like that's taking half my health bar away.
Just sneak it in his latte.
Secondly, is like hand lotion that's too oily. You know, like you put on like some Jergens and like you can't like I fucking hate it, man. If I put on hand lotion, I can't do anything for like 20 minutes. Like I just have to sit there like
You
this.
start like
Just
rubbing it in
fucking-
onto your arms and everything
like-
too. Like,
Dude, 'cause I literally always like if I use hand lotion, I'm like, oh, you know, my hands are dry. I should do that, and then I sit there for like maybe 20 seconds with it on. I'm like, I fucking hate this, and then I just end up wiping it off anyways.
okay, so you have to give Ben a tummy ache and then moisturize his hands.
Yeah, and I'll just be like, oh, I have to shit and I can't wipe my butt. And then like thirdly, like just the worst feeling in the world is like crusty socks, like socks you wore the day before that you have to wear again because you're out of socks.
Or
The combination of those 3 things will put me in the fucking grave, dude.
no, I have to agree. Like crusty socks, like when you're out camping and your boots get wet or something like that, and you set it out to like bake off by the campfire, and then putting that stuff on, you're like,
It's brutal.
It's
like
the worst.
stepping on a bag of chips.
Yeah,
Dude,
slipping it
it's
into
so-
your.
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I have a pine needle, but it's just like a fucking thread that's just hardened from sweat. It's like it's the worst, man. It's so gross. So like, yeah, I think your ideal way of getting to me would be like lotion my hands so I can't stop you because I literally can't do shit with my hands. Pour milk down my throat while I'm incapacitated. Incapacitated. And then just like take my socks off and like leave me to hang for a day with my fucking hands like this, and then put them on my feet, and that's like the final like sword to the throat kind of thing. And that would end me. Like that's all it takes, man.
I'm just picturing Ben standing in the middle of an open room with crusty socks on so he can't walk anywhere, his hands covered in slippery lotion, and having the worst farts. And just his sheer just
kill me.
max discomfort.
Yeah,
You
the
guys
thing
all
is
pick, like actual weaknesses.
like by the
I picked
time
rocks.
yeah,
Oh, man.
I don't know. That would do it for me. That would end my life. I'd want you to kill me. I'd be begging you by the end.
Please.
Please end it.
What are you doing that you deserve to have that treatment, do you, Ben?
I mean, okay, so you guys know that dog from Rick and Morty that like got its balls chopped off and gained sentience?
Yes.
I think it's somewhere along those lines.
Okay. Someone did you dirty.
Okay, my guess for you was going to be people trying to book like courts at work.
God, that is the worst. That
Like
would
they don't know what they're doing. I thought
It
that
would
was
be
going to be one of your
United.
weaknesses. Uh,
Oh.
Oh,
What was your second one,
goodness.
Rare? I want to hear the rest of your guesses.
I only had one for pretty much everybody. Brody was the exception where I had two.
Okay, that's fair. All right. Well, I mean, last but not least. Let me pass it off to Mike.
See, I think we need to change the phrase to that. Last but last least.
Last but last,
With all
I
the
love it.
stumbles. Yeah.
Coin just now.
Frick. Yeah, so I guess thinking about this, I was like, okay, well, on a day-to-day basis, like what takes me away from doing things that would otherwise like make me super powerful and otherwise super villainish? So for the most part, it's like, okay, if I put my mind to something, it's like, okay, this thing is getting done. So I'm like thinking of myself as like a super villain that, you know, as soon as it comes into my head, shit gets done.
So
So
they call you the Dunner.
yeah, get done. So the first thing that you need to do is that you need to direct my attention to something that is completely meaningless at the end of the day. So you're gonna just offload all of the Destiny seasonal content at once. Now, in this content, because I got this big deep think going on, I always wanted to go ahead and have like a deeper understanding to something. So it's like, oh, okay, so say if I was having an example at work where I'm like, okay, well, you know, if we are going to go ahead and look at, say, pH effect on certain mobility of nutrients. Oh, okay, so if we put like this amount in, then it's going to do this. Okay, but then that is going to do this to that thing. So I just keep on going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole. So you need that Destiny seasonal content to direct me away, because at the end of the day, I have played a considerable amount of that shit.
Mm.
Like, do you have your hours logged on Steam? I don't want to
so
expose
again,
you here, but
I
curious.
went ahead and ported after I believe it was in November once I got the PC from PlayStation. So my PlayStation time on Destiny 2 was about 1,000 hours by the time I ported. From November to about this time, apparently I have logged 1,000 hours. I've logged about the same amount of time in there as I did on the PlayStation. So I'm like, what happened? The funny thing is that like the load times are faster. I'm able to do more things in the game because I'm on a system that can handle it. But I'm able to I don't get it. So I'm
Mike
either the
gets to
counter is
2,000
wrong.
Mike gets
Either
to
the
2,000
counter-
hours on Destiny and then goes, but, huh?
How did this happen? I don't know. So
Just
again,
twice
like
as much, half as long.
imagine like, okay, somehow I don't play Destiny. I have never played Destiny in my life. Those 2,000 hours go to something else that is completely relevant, a lot more meaningful. All of a sudden, it's just like, say in the example of my brother, he's going out rock climbing. All of a sudden, he's like hitting up 515D or something like that, and he's like world famous because he's like a top rock climber. For Destiny, it's just like it's a drop in the bucket. Like you're not good. It's like I went ahead and like had a little bit of a jerk myself off moment when I checked my ranking last season for a game type called Gambit, and I was
So-
like, holy shit, I got to 466 in the world. Holy shit, I'm so big. And then I'm just like, oh, wait a second. No, it's like nobody plays this game type. Of course, this is how easy it is.
Okay, Mike,
416 out of 500 players.
to put this into perspective, not to crush you, is 83 days straight playing Destiny.
Yeah, it seems about right.
Oh my goodness! I thought
I love the
150
calm
hours in Monster
acceptance.
Hunter was a lot.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
Mike, without running off the rails too much, what is your second weakness as a villain?
That was the deep think where it's like, okay, you give me a question, and then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can answer this really easily, and then you're just like, no, but there's like a little bit of nuance to it. And you're like, oh, okay, so all of a sudden you add in that layer, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so I gotta keep on going deep, just keep on digging down to like the absolute basement of, hey, what's going on? And then you figure out there's more to a basement than just a basement. There's subsurface. Oh, you just keep on going, and then there's mantle, and then all of a sudden you're in the damn center of the earth, baking and just floating up like a giant balloon.
So basically, Mike's a robot, and you got to give him a logic puzzle that's unsolvable.
It doesn't
and
end.
he's gonna
Essentially.
short circuit.
Or just give him
Yeah.
like a really curious kid who keeps asking why after every
Oh
answer.
my
Oh
god!
my God.
Holy shit! That actually destroys me because
Why?
like at the end of the day, it's just like that you should be able to answer that fundamental question, even
Why?
if it's super weird.
Ben,
Because
you're dangerous.
no, they're not gonna do this. We're not
We're
gonna do
destroying
this.
Mike right now. Let's
Yeah.
do it. So,
Mike's
okay,
villain,
so
villain killed on Twitch live.
if you can already be defeated by the second thing, what's the third thing? Is it just like a kill confirmed measure?
Oh yes, very
Double
much so.
tap.
Yeah, what's
And
the
that-
third thing?
And that, sirs, I think you all know, is the 3 centimeter
high?
space between the miniskirt
Oh
and
my
the
God, I
thigh-high
was
socks.
right. Oh my
The
God.
promised land?
I love how specific
It's the
it is,
absolute
too.
zone.
Some real specific
It's
anime
the
titties.
absolute zone.
What if
It-
it's 4 centimeters?
Between the bottom of the skirt and the thigh-high socks.
I still remember having that hoodie.
Weakness.
I still remember getting that hoodie and wearing that hoodie. I took it to school, and it's like very fine print. That is what it says, but then it's got it written in kanji down the side, and then it's got like thigh-high sock, like just a little bit of like vinyl print, and then there's a skirt kind of logo, and then I'm just like, oh, walking around like nobody knows what I got going on here, and then I'm like, well,
They did.
like thinking back, and I'm like, holy shit,
They
that's
did.
cringe. So yeah, that's essentially it. It's just like, okay, I'm a superhero that like anything I could, or no, a super villain that I could go ahead and like end anything because I could just put all my mind power to it, like, and then just wipe things off the face of the earth, basically. So it's just like, oh, okay, so
Okay.
cor-
So-
corporatism.
But someone
Bah.
destroys the Destiny servers, and then all of a sudden you start.
No. You need no, because then all of a sudden my mind is now free to do other things. You
So
need
you have to-
entrap me in Destiny, and with the prospect of deep philosophical questions about the thigh-high sock, the differential between that miniskirt and the thigh-high
That's so
sock.
specific that I don't think anyone would ever be able to defeat you.
So
Yeah.
Mike is
There we
the
go.
ultimate
Mike's
supervillain.
Obscure knowledge.
It's true. And if you really think about it, he's already partially defeated because he's already distracted in Destiny. So it's a simple question, and Mike has been defeated.
They're a chain of logical fallacies.
Okay.
Can you see
I
like the
picked-
error 404 in my fucking head right now?
I picked a boring answer for my 3 things. So what do you guys think my 3 things would be? I managed to guess a couple yours correctly. What would be my 3 weaknesses? If we're using my like genuine weaknesses, what would be my 3
Coca-Cola.
weaknesses? Dylan?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Chocolate.
You
Yeah,
are correct.
chocolate would
Chocolate
actually
is one of
kill
the
you.
ones I
Chocolate.
The whole chocolate
Specifically,
factory.
specifically, I had Kinder Surprise chocolate and chocolate milk. Anything other than those, any other kind of chocolate, I'm done. Like it's game over. So
My choice is an acting out drunk homeless guy on a train.
no, that was
That's, that's his nemesis, dude. That's his like superhero. Like
That is who is defeating him with the chocolate.
yeah. I'm pretty
no,
sure
Ray,
I
I-
won that fight.
you did, you
Oh,
did exactly. Like you sent him
You know
back.
what? You know why though?
He
You know
hasn't found
why?
the 3
It's
rocks
'cause
yet.
He didn't have chocolate. He didn't have any chocolate with him. That's why.
He had chocolate, it would
rocks.
have been game over.
Yeah.
So then you would,
All right.
another way to defeat Rare would be give him a phone where the flash is always on.
That's mean.
I really like that.
Like, why is it on?
I feel like I just come to terms with it and I'd start like playing with it.
I feel like you
My
come.
last one
I feel
is-
like you would come to terms with it and play with it, but then you'd get bored of it and then get pissed off at it and being like, "Why
It
is
would come in waves.
Why is it on?"
Here, I know
Come in
exactly
waves.
how to defeat Rare.
Yeah.
You get Rare to be late for work. Okay. You surround him by
Okay,
a bunch
yeah, I
of
hate that
curbs at
already.
different angles. Okay.
Oh,
And then you
God.
have 3 different buses that he could get to work. And he has to run for one of them. He doesn't know which one's gonna leave first. So he's gonna
God.
try and get to the bus. He's gonna catch himself with a roll, and then concuss himself on a curb.
Yeah.
That's how you defeat.
And then
Rare.
you put chocolate in his mouth.
then you just put a little chocolate in his mouth.
Finish him.
That's a really good answer. I was gonna say make me dance in public, but I like yours better.
While you're dancing on curbs trying to make it to your bus.
There you go.
I'm sprinting for the bus.
And then when
Oh,
you're laying on the
elegantly.
ground, someone's like, "Damn!"
Yeah.
Oh God.
Or you had to dance as payment to get on the bus.
Oh, God,
Lord.
that would
Rare's
be
like,
me.
fuck no.
I'd rather just
Oh.
like ride the front of the bus.
Can you just strap me onto the
Come on.
front like a bike and just like take me
Just let me lay
anywhere,
down in front of you?
drive
Like-
recklessly. I don't care. Like just like go T-bone somebody for all I care. I am
then
not
the
going
only
ahead
way
and
to make-
dancing for you to get on this bus.
The only way to make the bus move is that everyone has to drink chocolate from a straw.
Chocolate milk
Yes,
from a
that's it.
straw.
Rare. We're
if
literally
it's
just
chocolate milk,
describing
I'll be okay.
torture for Rare here. That's
Yeah.
all we're
Rare's
doing.
like,
I'm not
if
drinking
it
that
was,
chocolate.
if you're making
Everyone's
me
like,
drink chocolate
"Damn."
milk, I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna be
Uh,
like, okay,
liquid-
yeah, here we're gonna go
liquid
so
dark
fucking
chocolate.
fast on this bus. Holy shit! Like,
What if it was
but if you
liquid
give me
dark
like dark
chocolate?
chocolate, yeah, Mike beat me. Mike
Mhm.
definitely beat me.
'Cause, yeah, I still you pick up on the bitter notes of basically anything.
So fucking gross. Oh my
Like
God.
I'm
My
eating
other
away
option
at
is
milk
coffee.
chocolate, and you're like,
Coffee would
it's
beat
bitter
me
to me.
too.
I'm like, how the fuck
Jesus,
is this
what?
bitter? I don't
So
get it.
bitter. It's so bitter.
In that case, guys,
It's like
we've hit our time here. We are going to continue this bitter talk, I believe, next week. We've got some other topics to bring up with you guys.
Isn't it 2 weeks? Sorry.
Sorry, it is 2
Bi-weekly.
weeks. Bi-weekly.
Sorry. Just making sure.
Yeah. Either way, you guys, I think next week we're talking about some embarrassing PODI stories and the weirdest thing society accepts as normal.
Yes.
So keep that in your mind. Thank you so much for staying. Thank you so much for listening. And make sure you follow all these guys on their social medias. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you follow the Twitch and you come watch live. We do it every second week. It's also posted in our Discord. If you're curious in joining that, please check that out as well. We'll put all of our announcements for the podcast as well as other streams and content creation things in there. And otherwise, you guys, thank you so much for listening. And I
Thank
hope
you.
have a great rest of your week. Freaking PODI boys are out.